We're on a mission. We're going to find and uncover the smartest, most successful entrepreneurs on the planet, explore their highs, their lows, and how they ultimately mastered the game. I'm Martin Cook, and I'm excited to welcome you to the Smarter Destiny podcast. I'm grateful for you and your time. Now let's level up together. Gentlemen, welcome back to another Smarter Destiny podcast, where this time we have my friend Tanner Chidester. Tanner is the CEO and co-founder of Elite CEOs, who have generated over $25 million revenue in the last 3 years. That's an 8-figure business and a very, very fast scaling, growing one. He is the proud owner of a 10x ClickFunnels Award, signifying that he has done more than 8 figures through funnels. He is also a published author and has over 50 employees on his payroll that he has to be accountable for and feed and, change their diapers and so on every single month. He's also been interviewed many times. He is not a stranger to PR and press, and above all else, the guy is legit and has hundreds and hundreds of testimonials, very long testimonials, glowing testimonials from all of the clients and people that he has helped. So it is my great honor and with much excitement that I have the opportunity to welcome Tanner to the show. Tanner, how are you?
I'm good, Martin. Thanks for having me, bro. That was a great intro.
There's a few stumbles. There always is. The audience is used to it. Whereabouts in the world are you, Tanner?
Yeah, I'm in Miami right now. Sunny Miami, and it is open for business, so I'm loving it.
Yeah? It's like open? Like proper open?
It's pretty open. I mean, you have to wear the mask inside, but besides that, I mean, it's open. So there's nothing else is really closed down anymore. It's open for business. So
nice. Missing that Miami sun, my friend. It's been about a year, I think, since cruising through there, and it's miss it. Love that part of the world. All right. Okay, so the way we like to kick things off on this show is we go back to a point in your past, which really serves as a kicking off point for your entrepreneurial journey. There might be some struggle in there, there might be some heartbreak. The more, the merrier. But if you've got a time in your past, could you take us back to that time? Paint us a word picture. Where are you? What are you doing? And what's going on?
yeah, so there's plenty of struggle. So I'm happy to share. So I grew up in a family of 7 kids. Grew up in a very conservative household. I was raised LDS, or more commonly known as Mormon. I was pretty sheltered. So, my sisters would play dress up with me. I was the first boy. And unfortunately, that didn't do me any favors. As I went through school, people bullied on me and picked on me a lot. And when I turned 12, for whatever reason, I just thought, hey, I'm going to beat these kids up. I'm going to get jacked. So I start going to the gym. My sisters go to Bible study like 6 a.m. So I'm waking up. I'm 12 years old. 5:30, go to the gym. Then my mom would pick me up and take me to PE. And that's the first class I had. And I started getting bigger, and people started respecting me. And so in my head, I was like, okay, well, I put in work. People respect me. I'm going to keep doing this in different areas. So started doing it in school, girls, sports, excelled extremely well in American football, did really well with girls, had straight A's. And I saw that I could take football pretty far. And so I had a goal to go to the NFL. For the next, 10 years, I did anything you could think of to enhance my athletic ability. I would train 3 hours a day. I'd run 3 hours a day. I mean, you name it, I've done it. And I took that as far as I could go. I got hurt in college 4 times. I had a short stint at Brigham Young University. It's a Division I football out in Utah. And they actually had a pretty good season this year. And after that, I knew I couldn't play anymore. I knew I wasn't going to the NFL. I played with multiple first-round draft picks, and these guys were just monsters. And it was clear to me that genetically I was not blessed with what they were. So after that, I started studying strictly petroleum engineering. I was just going to school for that. I was glad I had good grades. A lot of the football guys I played with did not, but I wasn't happy. And I was in class one day, and I just kind of like stood up and left, and I never went back to school. And I just remember just saying to myself, like, this can't be the rest of my life. Because up till that point, it had been football. And I was starting to kind of find a new identity. Dropped out of school by kind of the words of a guy named David Fry. A lot of people actually know him. He's an old school marketer. Married Russell Brunson's cousin, who's the owner of ClickFunnels. They're going to sell probably for $1 billion+ someday. And he started teaching me everything about online marketing. So I moved home at 22, lived in my parents' house, worked, and then I went to his office every day to try to learn marketing. Over the next 3 years, I actually only made $2,000 in my business. It was very disgruntling. I was very discouraged. During that time at 23, I moved to Utah, got a 500 square foot apartment, had a 17-year-old car, and worked as a server at Olive Garden to try to keep working on my business. And everything I was trying wasn't working. I was getting very frustrated. I knew I was smart. I didn't understand what was missing. And so finally, I actually went and did door-to-door sales because I thought it was just cash. I was like, if I can just get cash, I'll be successful. And I went and did door-to-door sales, and it was the best and worst experience of my entire life. It was actually harder than building an 8-figure business. If anyone has not done door-to-door sales, I recommend you do it because after that, everything in life is easy. And I learned how to sell. I really learned how people thought and spoke. And then after that, I turned 25 and the summer is finishing. And I just had this thought, if I don't figure it out this year, I got to go back to school. 22 to 25, I just had, oh, I'm young. It's cool. I'm young. You know, everyone, oh, you're young. You're good. You got time. And then at 25, it got really real for me. And I had the thought that I'd rather be homeless than not succeed. So I hired a coach, saw an ad on Facebook, how to build your online fitness business. Clicked on it, got on the call, had no idea what high ticket sales were. Guy takes me through the pitch. I say yes, have no clue what's going on, give him my credit card, like no objections at all. I don't even have the money, but I'm desperate. And in that first week, by just simply learning, you can get people on a call and sell them for 15 to $2,000. I was like, I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way people pay that. Because I've been trying to sell a $47 program. First week I made 10 grand. And because I'd had all this training and sales experience before, I excelled, I've excelled past, anyone I've ever started a business with at the same time. And since then I've done $25 million in sales and my life's completely changed forever. And I'm just kind of touching the tip of the iceberg, honestly. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And so, when you were going door to door, what was it that you were selling?
So security alarms. So the hardest part about that is you have to get inside the house. So some people will sell pest control. You can stand outside and sell it because you're showing them around the house. So alarms is very difficult because you literally have to transition in the home and sit down. And a lot of people, obviously, they don't want to let a stranger in their home. So you would have laughed watching me. Because I would say anything and everything, ethically. I wasn't like lying, but, you'd laugh. You would have laughed at some of the stuff I tried to get in the doors.
Oh, give me some. Tell me some of the.
Well, so one, for example, is we give them a free sign if they buy our service. So what I would do is I go to the door, I say, hey, my name's Tanner. I'm with the crime prevention unit in the neighborhood. You're Mr. Johnson. We had a list of all the names. It was in a database. And I'm not sure how they get it. I just know they're allowed to. But yeah, it's me. I'm like, cool. So we're going around the neighborhood. I don't know if you've seen on the TV, there's been a lot of crime in this area. Obviously, we go to super crime infested areas, so it wasn't always the safest either. Cops would be like, why are you here? I'm like, bro, try to sell alarms. Get it away. Go away. You're bad for business. And then I would just simply say, so, the FBI has shown that having these signs in your yard is, you're 60% likely to get broken into, which is true. And they're like, oh, yeah, great. Awesome. Like, yeah, we put one in your yard. And typically they'd say yes. Sometimes they'd say no. And I'd say, cool, no worries. All I need you to do is fill out a little paperwork. And then typically I would just look down and I'd start wiping my feet. I just need to come inside real quick. And I just start walking. And I changed the pitch and stuff, but that was the easy one that a lot of people would do because they're like, oh, I get a free sign. It's going to help like crime and stuff. And then once you get in the house, obviously you start transitioning into cool. So, if you do this for us, then, you start transitioning your sales pitch. So it was really difficult because I didn't realize how many objections people could have. I mean, oh, my goldfish died. I don't know you. Waiting for my wife to get home, about to leave, like all the objections in the world. So when I finally did online business and I got someone on a phone call, I was like, oh my gosh, they actually want this. This is great. And from there, it was so much easier. But that was one of the most pivotal moments in my life that I didn't realize. 22 to 25, I made $0. But looking back now, that's going to set me up to become I think I'll become a mega millionaire by the time I'm older because that experience alone was so helpful in getting me to understand how people think and what they say So when I hear people now, I know exactly what they're thinking when they say that. And most people can't pick up on those cues. And it's very helpful in sales and business. And I mean, just life in general, you know, probably ask your girlfriends or wife to the listeners. It's good to know.
Nice. And so, you found yourself on that whirlwind sales call, and your credit card just came out, and you're just agreeing to the slick coach that gets you on his course. Um, Obviously, it turned out to be a good purchase. What did you start selling after that point? And what learnings had you taken from your alarm selling days through to help you?
Yeah, so all I did, I started selling personal training. I'd been in fitness my whole life, and it just made sense. And that's what I teach to like a lot of clients and individuals, to start with something you're good at. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, or like people don't like, what do I start for business? Well, what are you good at? Just start there. Take $0, zero product, zero manufacturing. So I just started getting people on the phone, and I didn't realize like I'd sell, you know, 3 or 4 month packages, anywhere between, you know, 2,500 to 3,200. I even sold packages as high as, I had one client who paid me about $30,000 for a year, 35, I think. But most packages were, you know, 2,500 to 3,200 for 3 to 4 months. And, you know, you're making $3,000 a month. And then all of a sudden you're making 50 grand a month selling 3 or 4 packages a week. It's completely revolutionized my life and had me thinking about business completely different, because before I was trying to sell $47 offers, not realizing that part of being successful is charging what you're worth. It's not screwing people. Like the more you charge, you need to give a good service, but people will pay more money for higher levels of service, more one-to-one, more interaction, more customization, more done for you stuff, whatever. So I started there because I actually loathed business coaches. I hated business coaches, which is the irony in this conversation. But as I had more success, people just asked me for help. I had trainers initially, it was trainers that go, dude, like, how are you making so much money? Because trainers usually don't do very well, or they're working, you know, obnoxious hours. And I was like, well, you know, this is my business. But after, you know, 10 or 15 people asked, I was like, this is another 7-figure business. I did it. And then that grew very quickly. And then I had more people come, and that's how I transitioned to where I'm at today. So, you know, if it wasn't for that initial success, I don't think I'd be in this industry. It just kind of fell in my lap.
So, and that's incredible. And so you were selling one-to-one personal training. So did you get to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you suddenly like filled up your calendar? Was that the point that you couldn't scale anymore, or how did it transition?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was all online. So keep in mind when I say one-to-one, this is online. So really, if you take out the interaction at the gym, it's very simple fulfillment. Like all they're really paying for at that point is like, I gave them an app that had their exercises and everything. They could look at it, notes, nutrition. But the biggest thing they're paying for is my expertise. And what I would sell people on is say, look, you pay me this one time, you'll never need a trainer again. Because trainers, and I would, you know, I would say this in the context that trainers at gyms don't want you to stop paying them because that's how they make their money. I was like, I'll teach you what to do and I'll never pay you again, because I wasn't restricted to a location. And that was very attractive to most clients. Um, and so when my calendar booked out again, like I'm living at my parents' house, and this was the best part. I was turning into a millionaire living at home. And so people would ask my parents, you know, your son's still home. What's going on? They're like, oh no, he's doing good. And that was funny, but I just spent all day messaging and taking calls. And then once I got filled out, I called my brothers. I have 2 brothers, and I said, hey, look, I know this is going to sound crazy, but my business is working, and I need, like, if you guys want it, you know, you can leave school and I'll take care of you. Just come help me. And they both jumped on board, and we've been going strong ever since.
Phenomenal. And so,
Yeah.
um, at some point, you transitioned into the elite CEOs. So I don't think in the introduction, I revealed what elite CEOs is and what it does. So would you
Yeah.
like to reveal at this point?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, we help take people's ideas or thoughts or skills and turn them into online businesses. And the biggest reason I do that, and I'm a proponent of that, is it just goes back to my experience. When I started, I didn't know what to sell. And then when I tried to figure out what to sell, I was, you know, doing all these things that are hard, all the automation, all the tech, all, you know, selling something for $50, you have to sell 1,000 of them to make any money. And so the path that I teach, it's not that other paths can't work. I just view it as if a person is standing in front of you and they have, 5 grand or 10 grand and they have one chance to be successful, I'm showing them what I believe to be the best chance possible. And it's as simple as that. And that's why I've stuck with it, and because it changed my life. And so I'm very passionate about what I do and what I say because I went through it. And it helps when you're helping people, because to know how they're feeling and to know what they're going through is very beneficial. So, but that's the reason we do it. We scale people's service-based businesses not because other businesses don't work. I was even mentioning to you, we do help some product-based owners, e-com owners at a smaller scale, but just because I feel like that's the best place for a beginner to start, because it takes no cash, no capital, no fulfillment, no products, no development. And you can literally start selling today with a cell phone. So hope that answers the question. Sorry for the rant.
No, not at all. We're delving into it. All right, so let's go into a hypothetical situation. We've got someone that runs an agency. It doesn't necessarily matter what. What is the we spoke off air about the appetite of the audience on this show. We on the show, we get into the weeds. We like to know the nitty gritty. Yeah. We don't gloss over things. So let's take this hypothetical. We've got some sort of agency selling a service, right? Because you help service-based businesses scale. What is the Tanner method, right? What is the method? What would you be looking at for the big levers to help this business that's come to you?
Yeah, so first thing would be to start with their offer. What most people don't understand is that it's not the best offer that wins. It's the marketing around it. So meaning that there's a lot of trainers out there who are probably better than me, or even maybe business coaches, but they don't make as much as me because it's perceived value. It's all about the marketing. So the first thing we work with clients is making sure that they present their offer in a way that makes it look better, because it's not, you don't want to have a bad offer, but you could have the best offer in the world. But if the individual doesn't get that, they're not going to buy. Like, people don't really know if something's good till they buy it. Even any Apple products, like, you're buying it, you hope it's good, you think it'll be good, but you don't know. So a lot of times that comes down to how they position. They're not positioning themselves in a way that makes them sound better than everyone else. So for example, when I was a trainer, the reason I was able to get people to pay $3 or $4 grand instead of $50 at the gym was because I positioned it as a solution forever versus pay me and pay me and pay me. And that's a whole nother conversation. But that's the first thing, is making sure that in your offer, you have 2 points about what makes you different in terms of what the deliverables, and then 1 point of authority. So for example, what I'll tell people, let's say they're going to come work for Elite CEOs as a client. We'd say, okay, so first we're going to help you craft and package your offer to ensure it's not a commodity, right? Nike shoes, Payless shoes, same product essentially, but Nike sells for 4 times more perceived value. Second thing is like our marketing deliverable. So most companies who are doing service-based, they'll sell stuff via webinars. We sell stuff in a method called conversion conversations, and I can break that down more for you and the listeners. And then the third thing is I just simply say, hey, look, I've had a 7-figure business in the B2C. I've had a 7-figure business in the B2B. I've done 25 million sales in less than 3 years. There's probably not a lot of people out there at my age who have done that. So do you want to work with someone who's had a massive amount of success, or do you want to work with someone else who hasn't? And simply by success, I mean financial, because there's a billion business coaches. But for me personally, I want to work with the guy making the most, because if he is, there's probably something he's doing that's better than everyone else. At least I think that, right? And so that goes to show, again, it's perceived value. After that, do you want me to keep going? Because there's more, but I just don't want to go on a tangent.
well, let's fill in the blanks on those ones first.
Sure.
So we've got the conversion conversation, and we've got the crafting the offer and the points of that offer. So let's go into the conversion conversation.
Sure. So conversion conversations it's basically a fancy marketing term I came up with that explains how we get someone from an ad or the first initial view all the way to a sales call. So most businesses that are service-based will do an ad to an opt-in page to a webinar, and then they push to a call, right? It's 100% automatic. Now, the benefit, if that works, is you don't have to work very much in your business. The downside is that if they come to the webinar and the webinar is not perfect, or the email follow-ups aren't perfect, I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Like 30% open rates on emails, you can retarget and stuff, but that's pretty much going to be the end of the conversation, which is why I'm not a huge fan of that. Because when I started trying to run ads, I couldn't get my webinars to work, and I couldn't figure out why. And I'd pay a coach 10 grand and 5 grand and 10 grand. They're like, yeah, we'll change this, change that, and change this. And all the time I'm losing more and more money because I had to pay them and run ads, pay them and run ads. And I'm just getting to the point, my gosh, I might as well just blow my money on ads and see what happens. So eventually I just inserted Messenger. So instead of the ad to the landing page, webinar, phone call, I just did ad, Facebook Messenger. Then I'd send them to a VSL, which is essentially the same as a webinar for anyone listening. It's just video sales letter. And then from there, they book a call. The benefit though was people who didn't book a call automatically, I'd go back and I'd start messaging them. And so, I mean, it was crazy, but I would spend 2 grand on ads and make 2 grand. The second I started doing this method, I'd spend 2 grand and I'd make 20. And I was like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. And from there is when I scaled to 8 figures very fast, because what I've learned is that it allowed me not to be as good at marketing, because I just turned 29 a week ago. So there's guys who've been in this game 20, 30 years, and there's no way I can make up for experience. So I thought to myself, if they're so much better at me at marketing and my stuff isn't working, what can I do to overcome that? And it was follow-up, but emails aren't good enough. So I was like, let me run them to Messenger. I'm going to go in and start conversations and push them to calls from there. And it worked. And I do that today at scale. I have a massive team, and between me and them, that's what we do all day. And so my marketing's gotten better, but it's a way so that I have consistent income and I don't have to rely on having the perfect video and the perfect email, because most beginners, they just can't pull it off. Even if I have a client and I teach them everything I know, a lot of times their skill level is not at the same level as me. And so I got to give them a way that is consistent, that is always going to work, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. And so what is it that you are selling I don't, obviously I know what you're selling, but like from the ad perspective, right? We're getting into the marketing here. So
Yeah.
so the lead generation side, who is it that you're talking to, or do you have lots of different sub niches? What is that first point of contact where their bullshit detector is at the absolute highest, and they
True.
are ready to spew hatred at you in the comments
Yes.
of whatever you're advertising on?
Yeah, it was funny. My COO actually had to block someone from our IP today because they booked 20 calls in a row, and they're just like, it's just talking shit the entire time. And he's like, okay, like, I'm done with this. We're blocking this IP. But anyways, that's another discussion. But when I started running ads initially, right, it was just to get in shape. So my tagline was like, how to eat whatever you want without sabotaging results. Now, for anyone listening, I know they're like, oh, that's not possible. I'm like, I know, calm down. It was basically promoting if it fits your macros, but saying it again in a way that they're like, oh, what is this? Like, this sounds scammy, but maybe. And so they click, and that would help me start that discussion where then we get into more details. Once that happened, then I went to trainers. So it was how to become a personal trainer, but move your business online. And I've just hit all the pain points. You tired of doing 12-hour days? Are you tired of only making 50 grand a year? Do you feel like you want to make more, stuff like that? Now with Elite CEOs, it's obviously more general. So we will have ads that will specifically target different niches, like graphic designers, ad agencies, etc. But overall, the offers are either to someone who wants to start online business from it, like leave a 9-to-5 and go online, or existing business owners, but they need help scaling. Right. And obviously those are more of the preferred market because it's easier to help an existing business than it is a brand new one. But those are the 2 types of individuals we work with.
Beautiful. And then let's talk authority and verification. So I mean, I think a big part of your particular system, which might be a little bit tricky for people to replicate, and I'm sure you get this all the time, right? You're verified on Instagram. You've got a bunch of followers, I think 60,000 odd or something. And obviously we mentioned in the intro that you've got hundreds and hundreds of like lengthy videos from clients that you've helped, which will obviously help prove that you're legit and that you know your stuff, right? Whereas
Sure.
that graphics designer that's clicked on your ad is joined wouldn't necessarily have that. So what's your training wheels advice to like rapidly scale up that sort of authenticity side, which I think was the third prong anyway, right? It was the
Yeah.
headline and it was a two-stage headline and
Yeah, it's like two things about your offer and then one thing for credibility is usually
there you
helps. Because no matter what you say about your program, there's still like, but why you and not another guy who
go.
maybe does something similar, and it's you got to lay down the hammer. And so that's where I bring in my revenue numbers. But yeah, so I mean, first thing to keep in mind for the listeners, I started from zero as well. Like I didn't start off with a million testimonials. But what you'll find is that if you don't have revenue and stuff, there's something else you can say. So for example, someone brand new could say, hey, look, you know, you could work with Tanner. He's made a lot more, but you're going to work with his team and not the individual coach. I'm going to give you straight up one-to-one. Like I'm going to work with you and I'm the CEO. So no matter what someone is selling, I'm good enough to know how to position it in their favor, right? Because whatever I say, I can tell someone the exact polar opposite and get them to shed it in a better light. So the first thing is understanding like you don't have to have a million testimonials or even a following to get started. What the main goal is to find something that separates them. So whether it's they're going to give extra coaching, longer program, whatever that may be, just give them some type of authority play where you're showing that signing with you is better than anyone else for X, Y, and Z reason. The other thing is when we get beginners, is a lot of them don't have followings. So my entire strategy is, hey, let's go out and get your first or second client for free, which is going to take a little bit of effort. But if you're selling something for $3,000, right, and you get $6,000 in the bank, now we can scale very fast with ads. So the goal is to get clients to paid traffic as fast as possible because paid traffic is what scales. Yeah, there's no one I know who's being honest, who's doing 8 figures a year without paid traffic. It just doesn't happen unless you're Kylie Jenner or, you know, you throw in some celebrity who can sell their fingernails. But the goal for us is to make sure that they understand how to message, how to do the sales calls, all the basics, get a little bit of cash for ads, and then scale very quickly. So you'd be surprised. Most people, they don't need to have a ton of credibility to start because there's a million beginners out there. And so all you really have to do to be the expert, if you think about it, is know one thing more than they do. And I wasn't always this expert. As I was helping people, I just stayed a step ahead and I was learning as I went as well. And I was just showing them and helping them replicate what I did. And even today, I do the same things. My higher level clients, they ask me about investing. They ask me about buying existing businesses, private equity, stuff like that. So hopefully that answers the question. Just make sure if I'm not, just keep clarifying me because I want to make sure the listeners are getting their money's worth.
No, absolutely. You're hitting them down, man. You're hitting the questions. You're crushing. What I'm curious about actually is that first sales call, right? So the client has or the prospect rather at this stage has pre-qualified themselves, kind of, right? I guess they're coming into that first call warm because they've gone through your messaging sequence where I'd love to hear like kind of what we're covering off in there, and then they've watched your VSL. I'd love to hear the kind of structure there. But then that process, right, we're taking them from the, like I said, the bullshit detector super high and tuned in. They're ready to just hate you, but you've taken them to that next step. What is it that you're knocking out in that messenger sequence, getting them into the VSL, like, and how quick is that happening? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So that's the best part, and I love it because what people don't understand. So check this out: when they go to Messenger, there's a million possibilities. I love it. You can get their email, you can get their phone number, and remember, this is on Facebook, and this will work for Instagram too. Like this isn't just Facebook specific, but Facebook has a messenger platform. So I give that context for most people, but this will work in LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere where there's messaging, right? And so what we usually do is we'll go in, there'll be an automation. It's like, hey, put in your email to get the train. They put that in, and then we send them a link to the VSL. After that, me and my team will go in and manually engage. Now, there are ways to automate it, but manual messaging will always beat automation. You cannot, substitute human interaction. It's just not possible. You can, to the best of your ability, but I found that manual is best. So we'll go in and we'll say, hey, glad to see you're here. What's your business goal? Or whatever it is, right? You can go straight to it because when they click on their ad, they're raising their hand that they're interested. If I was messaging someone organically or for free, I change that up a little bit. But in ads, we go right to it. So we'll say, what's your goal? I want to build my business. Cool. What are you struggling with? Oh, I'm struggling with this. Got it. What have you tried before? So we're starting to ask these questions to know what the issue is. They'll start telling us, what's your goal? What are you struggling with? What have you tried before? Then we'll usually ask, have you ever had a coach? Okay, cool. Are you sure you want help? Yeah. How serious are you on a 1 to 10 scale? Well, I'm a 10. And then we'll clarify and usually say, physically, mentally, financially, like you're all in as long as we can help you. Yeah. All right, cool. Are you down to book a call? Yep. And obviously we have a script and SOP, so I'm paraphrasing, but we send the link, they sign up. And then the beauty is we look at the application, and if they give us an answer we don't like, we go back in there and we ask them. Now, a typical marketer, they can't do that. They get the application, that's it. All they got was their email. There's no way to contact them. They could text them, I guess, but most of the time people don't answer text as much because it's very invasive. So we'll go back and say, hey, we saw in your application, you're only making $1,000 a month. There's nothing wrong with that, but are you in a position to invest with a coach? And that follow-up has changed everything because my sales reps close twice as many calls. They don't want to leave. We don't book the calendar with a bunch of bad looks. And it's allowed me to hire less staff, be more efficient, make higher profit margins, and we beat a lot of objections before they get to the call. So as a salesperson, knocking on someone's door is extremely difficult. And that's kind of how most marketers work. They're getting all these calls booked with no pre-framing. So by the time they get to our call, they know, hey, bring your credit card. Hey, we're going to sell you. We want to make, if this is a fit, you need to be ready to sign up. Does your wife need to be on board? We'll ask all these questions before so that it's easier on the call. And, granted, not everyone tells the truth. You still get some people who say one thing and do another, but it's tremendously helped our business, and it creates a lot of predictability. And that's why I think my clients have such, great success. So hope that answered. Again, I'll go into more detail if you want.
No, that's absolutely brilliant, and
Cool.
it sounds like it's a big filtering process
Mm-hmm.
to get them to that point. And so what can people expect? So if they're following your method, right, after they've signed up with you and they're following your teachings, what can they expect in terms of that initial lead cost and the cost to book a call?
Yeah, it's a great question. So again, everything at scale goes up. So the numbers I'm going to give are, keep in mind, we're doing $500,000 or more a month of ads. If you're running $5,000 a month, it's going to be a lot better. Typically for a B2C offer, for a fitness, let's say, offer, you're going to look at no more than $10 per lead. And then you're going to try to keep that application cost under $150. So booking a call. For a business offer, it's going to double typically. So about $20 a lead max. And then you're going to want under about $200 to $250 for a call. And keep in mind, the reason for that is there's less business owners. You're going to sell it for a higher price so you can afford more. Fitness, a lot bigger audience, but you can't sell it for quite as high of a price. And then keep in mind that if you use ManyChat, which for anyone listening, I didn't explain this. ManyChat is just a simple activation of Messenger. So when you are going to run ads on Facebook to Messenger, you have to use a messaging API platform, and that could be ManyChat. That's the biggest one. And so just keep in mind, when they go to ManyChat first, there's no lead pixel that can fire. The only way it fires is if they go to the VSL. So typically a $20 lead cost will be $40 and a $10 lead cost will be $20 because only half the people who get inside Messenger will click to the VSL. So I don't worry about the lead costs as much. We almost never do. We're just strictly looking at booking costs at this point, and then obviously acquisition costs. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. And again, B2C will be cheaper. So fitness, for example, and then B2B will be more if you're a business coach.
And you said, so final question on this bit. So you said with
Yeah.
business coach, where we're coaching the business owners, you said the price point would be higher because the lead cost is higher. What sort of price point are you selling out your business? Recommend selling that out at?
Yeah, so typically it's gonna be $5,000 or more. Anything that's financial ROI, you can usually charge more because for two reasons. One, they're making an investment, right? They're gonna make money back. So that obviously makes sense. If someone's like, hey, if you pay me $100,000, I'll give you $1 million. They're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then two, it's a higher level of service. Business coaching is much more time intensive because of all the calls and so forth you have to have. So, hope that makes sense, but usually $5,000 or more. It's very, common for other coaches to also sell over $10,000, but $5,000 I would say is the minimum. You can sell it for $3,000, but your margins will start getting cut into, right? If you're going to do high ticket offer, you have to make sure you're allocating enough money up front to make sure you don't go under with the ad spend, because, you know, it's more expensive. So business coaches, I usually have them sell it a little higher to make sure that they have enough margin to take care of their company.
Absolutely. Sweet. And so those listening who are like completely convinced on this, and they're like, wow, this sounds like this Tanner knows what he's talking about. It sounds legit. I'm interested. I've got a service-based business that I'm looking to scale. Where can they find out more about you and whip out their credit card?
Yeah, so I mean, you can go to Instagram and DM me at tanner.chidester. That's always my favorite, because, you know, we can start doing the messaging on you or myself, right? Or two, you can go to eliteCEOs.com, and that's just going to be more of more laid back, less pressure. No one's going to talk to you. You can look at the testimonials, info about me. There's a little intro video. So one of those two places, they'll get taken care of.
Fantastic. All right. Okay. So at this point in the show, we like to mix it up. We go into the rapid fire question round. I ask the questions quickly. You can, be a little bit more easygoing with your answers. Are
Sure.
you up for that?
Let's do it, man.
Are you 2 thumbs up for that?
I think so.
Gotta see
Let's
them.
do it.
Gotta see them.
Oh, you gotta. Oh, you're looking for them. My bad. I was like, yeah. Like, what is he waiting for? Okay, yeah, I'm good.
I'm verbally 2 thumbs up.
My bad.
All right. Okay, let's jump into it. Question number 1, Tanner. If you ever had to start again, how would you make your money?
Same way. I would do the exact same way. It's the highest profit margin, least amount of risk. I do the exact same thing.
What's that? Getting people onto a sales call?
Service-based offer. And sorry, I didn't know how much you want me to elaborate, but service-based offer, just simply something that I can take my skills. I don't have to go invest in product or manufacturing or put a lot of money down. I can literally take my cell phone, go out today, find someone, get them to sign up, and it's 100% profit. That to me makes the most sense for a beginner.
Nice. What's the most common or biggest mistake you see leaders making?
Hiring and training. When I hired people, I thought that they would understand in 48 hours. And then I realized it's more like, having a child, like you said earlier, where you really have to hold their hand, get on multiple calls, really walk them through, because they just don't, they will not typically think the same way as a CEO, and it's not their business. And so there's just a lot of mistakes I made doing that originally. It was not pretty. So I learned how to train and hire better.
Nice. Who is the best leader ever, alive or dead, and why?
Man, I mean, it's got to be Elon Musk. I don't know. He's so polarizing. I don't know him personally, obviously, and it's just from what I see. But, man, he inspires me, and he gets people behind him. I feel like he could go bankrupt today, and it wouldn't matter. People would still give him money. He just is one of the most brilliant minds out there, and, I mean, he just passed up Jeff Bezos, which is no easy feat. So, I love him. I love like his polarity. I love how he is just super driven and aggressive. And I mean, there's gotta be something to be said for a leader of the company, that if someone's going to be that way, it's gotta be him. So I like Elon.
Nice. Do you have a Tesla?
I don't have a Tesla. I don't have a Tesla, but I am a fanboy.
How do you hire top talent?
Yeah, so typically we'll find them on job sites or referrals, but we have a really good training portal. So before they ever come in, they have to finish the entire portal right away. That knocks off 80% of people because they're not willing to do that. Once they finish that, we give them a small task to see how much did they retain, how much did they actually learn, and how good are they at accomplishing the task. And then if they do that, then we hire them, and that cuts out massive amounts of attrition, because instead of hiring the wrong person, you hire the right person. And, one of the worst mistakes you can make in a business is hiring someone and then having to fire and then rehire. It wastes way more time than if you just find the right person the first time. So that's how we like to do it.
Does that hiring funnel work for the top end hires as well? The ones where you're not
absolutely those. Yeah, those are actually the main people we run through it. So it's 100% for the front or level entry employees. And, we help our clients with that. It's super important so you don't waste time.
Brilliant. How do you evaluate a good business deal?
I guess like in what context? Because like buying and like by buying a business, or in what context?
Well, I mean, buying a business could be, or it could just be just general negotiation. Like,
Sure.
I think something where it's like money that's, you're like, if I lost this, or if this turned out bad, this would sting at least a little bit. Those kind of levels.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's just looking at what's the worst thing that can happen. And so for me, for example, when I was investing in coaches, I had zero upside. I didn't know what to do. And then my worst downside was I lose 10 grand. And I just thought to myself, okay, if I lose 10 grand, it sucks because I don't make a lot, but I can replace it. Right? I can always go get a 9-to-5 job. And I think a lot of people who are going into starting a business, they overhype the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is you just stay where you're at. Like, yeah, you have less money, but you're not doing good anyway. So are you really that much worse off? And obviously you don't want to hire someone and have it go south, but welcome to success. Like, I've spent $700,000 on coaches over the years. Like, it is what it is. I can promise you 80% of them weren't very good. That's just how it works. So try to be one of the 20%. I try to be, one of the 20% of coaches that are good. And I just let people know, hey, it's part of success. It's just like dating. If a girl breaks up with you, you don't start dating guys. If you're into girls, you date girls. So hopefully that makes sense. I just think it comes down to how much risk is there in it. And when the worst case scenario is it's not going to change much of anything, you just got to do it. That's just, you got to pay to play.
Nice. How do you identify a good business partner?
They got to be opposite of you. So I'm not a fan of business partners. I'll be straight up. But if you're going to do one, you got to make sure that you do two separate things. So one needs to be the visionary, comes up with the ideas. One has to be the integrator. Anyone I've ever seen that is the same. 2 integrators, 2 visionaries. It does not work. Typically the people I see clash the most are 2 visionaries because they both have a direction they want to take the business. And they may start there, but it's like dating. You have a little rift and all of a sudden they want to go 2 different directions. And that's where I see them split apart. So if you're a visionary, you really have an idea for the business, make sure you get someone who's an integrator, who's just going to do the groundwork, or vice versa. I think that's super, super important for people to remember.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. We do EOS at Newbrew for exactly that reason. Here's my product, right?
Love
exactly
it.
the same
Love
reason,
it.
right? Like you need someone that's got the ideas, and you need someone that makes them happen. Otherwise,
Exactly, man.
you're living in
It's a must. It's a must. And any good partnership I've seen, that's exactly what I see work. I mean, it's every single time. So
if you're CEO and co-founder, do you have a co-founder who's an integrator, or some of your leadership roles integrators?
yeah. So I mean, a lot of my leadership roles are integrators. I'm actually, if I'm being honest, I'm actually a pretty big integrator myself. But I don't have to co-own with someone. So if there's a dilemma, I just make a decision. So I don't think I would get along with a business partner personally because I'm just very, I'm open to feedback, but I like things the way I like it. And when it comes down to my business and my reputation, my money, I'm just very particular. And so, that's why I don't have one. I just bring in a COO and go from there.
Beautiful. All right, on to you. What is one of your proudest moments?
Yeah, first week I made 10 grand. I mean, it was the best feeling I had in years because you go from making 2 grand a month scraping by, wondering if you're wasting your time, to basically overnight, I mean, I quadrupled my income. And then by the end of the month, I'd done 30 grand. I did 100 grand in my first 3 months after I figured it out, quote unquote. And, I mean, that was revolutionary. I went from a poor kid to rich almost overnight. And so that was a huge moment for me because it made all the suffering worth it. And it's one thing to say, oh, I didn't make money for 3 years. People are listening. Oh, big deal. But when you're living it and you don't see what's ahead and you're knocking on doors and it's 100-degree heat and people are pulling knives on you and guns and cussing at you and like, you're just wondering, why am I even putting myself through this? It makes it all worth it. So that's definitely today my proudest moment.
Do you remember the name of the coach? The coach who was that transition coach where you actually you forked out the money, but it actually worked.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually not on the best terms. But it wasn't the best program. But what I do credit him for is just the idea of high ticket. I didn't enjoy the overall program, but I will say without him, maybe I wouldn't have figured it out. Right. And that's something my mentors told me is like, hey dude, like even the people you don't like, they probably were still a reason you were successful. So,
Makes sense.
but
Well,
yeah,
no need to give them a
yeah,
shout out then, but I like the
yeah,
idea. You just
yeah.
realigned your
Nah,
compass there. What's one
yeah, no
interesting
worries.
What's one interesting fact about you that not many people would know?
I play piano and I'm learning Spanish.
Hmm. How's your
Yeah.
Spanish right now? How's it going?
It's good, you know. Muy bien, pero yo necesito más práctico español. So it's good, man. But you know, it's with the business, I don't put as much time into it as I should. But I'm staying consistent, which is the most important. Worst case scenario, I'm doing 3 hours a week of classes, and then I do extra practice. But I'm in a big push right now, so I just tell my teacher the truth, and she's like, "I get it. It's fine. You're doing good." So.
Have you ever thought about translating your business into Spanish and serving the Spanish-speaking market?
It's a thought, but I got to get fluent. I'm really good at listening. I can understand almost everything, but speaking, it's very fast, at least to me. So I need to get a little more comfortable. But I'm in Miami, so everyone here speaks Spanish, so it's a great place to be.
Absolutely. What daily routines do you have, whether morning or evening, that have helped make you successful?
Yeah, so I wake up very early. I wake up anywhere between 3 and 4 a.m. I'll meditate anywhere from a half hour to an hour. I know that's a long one, but Joe Dispenza, his are pretty long, so I'm going through his. I'll read, and then I'll go to the gym, and then I'll come home and start working on, you know, manager type tasks and prepare for team meetings. And then after the team meeting, I'm kind of free to do what I want. Sometimes I shoot content, sometimes I'll do podcasts, sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll be on Clubhouse for hours on end, it seems like. And yeah, so.
I like that. I like that. And
Yeah.
I just wrote down Joe Dispenza. I haven't actually heard of him, but
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome, man. I like him.
anyone that can help teach you how to meditate longer, I'm down with. Have you ever done breath work or any kind of like Wim Hof method or anything like that?
I haven't, man. And what may be interesting to people is I am probably the most like non-mindset person you'll meet, but I've gotten to a point in my life that I can't just keep bowling my way through stuff. And so I think I'm realizing that, you know, meditation is a lot more helpful than previously thought. You know, sometimes when people bring up like woo-woo stuff, I'm like, just shut up and do it. Yeah, whatever. But I'm getting more into it as I get older because I want to feel better. I want to feel happier and not be anxious and stuff that sometimes business can bring. So I think it's super important. And it really helps. I feel a lot calmer after and I feel better. So I've enjoyed it so far.
Absolutely. What time do you go to sleep?
9 or 10 at the latest. I feel I can get by on 5 hours, but I feel the best on 6 or more. Usually I try to hit 7. So the reason I wake up so early, people are like, why don't you just, you know, wake up later, go to bed a little later? I just don't like to be bothered. So, you know, when I get 4 to 5 hours to myself before anyone's waking up and bothering me, it allows me to, you know, handle the business at a higher level.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, right? When you've already put in like 5 hours before most people have even started.
Mm-hmm.
There's no catching up, right? There's no catching
Yeah.
up on that with you.
Yeah.
I like that. What book or books have changed your mindset or life?
High Performance Habits is a great one. Good to Great is a great one. I also loved, I forget what the book's called, but I believe it's Objectives and Key Results. Objectives and Key Results by it's about Google, but it talks about OKRs. I forget the name of it. But those would be probably some of my top 3. There's a lot more, but specifically High Performance Habits for anyone who's trying to find a balance between business, happiness, and still not like feeling like they're giving up their performance. That's a great thing to go through.
That. Those are some new suggestions as well. We get a lot of sort of similar suggestions on the show, so it's always great to get some new ones in there. And I'll
sure.
them down. What's the most exciting question you spend your time thinking about?
What's next? I feel like, you know, we did 15 million last year. You know, it's crazy. My first year I did 1 million. Then we 10x'd it, and then we did a little more. And I think in terms of the consulting, I've about maxed out. You know, it's a $20-30 million industry per business. It's not super scalable comparatively, right? Most people are like, shut up. But yeah, I'm ready for the next thing. I'm ready for another challenge. I'm ready to, you know, maybe build a business that I can sell for $100 million or more. So just really kind of the next step, next level, new challenge. I feel like I've accomplished everything in this industry that I've wanted to. So I'll still keep it. I'll still help people. I think it's a great way to start a business, but, you know, for me, it's time for the next challenge. So I'm kind of moving into that right now.
Nice. What advice would you give your younger self?
Hire a coach sooner. I said this earlier, but it doesn't matter if the coach sucks or not. You're going to learn so much going through that. And people think that they're going to avoid failure, but failure is part of success. So the faster you fail, the sooner you'll be successful. So I know that sounds weird, but if you look at my life, first 3 years, made $2,000, had 0 coaches. Last 3 years, I've had like 10 coaches, and I've done 25 million. And I'll even say, let's say I had 10, 8 out of 10 probably sucked, but I learned what not to do. I learned what not to make a mistake, or how not to treat my clients, or how not to market. And so those people are still part of my success.
All right. So we asked about how you identify a good business partner. How do you identify a good coach? You've gone through it. You've kissed a few frogs in your time.
Sure.
How do you identify a good one?
In the service-based industry, it's very simple for me. You need to see how much they're making, right? Like who's actually making the most, and then how they deliver their fulfillment. So something that I did, and what I didn't like about most coaches, was it was all group coaching. So, they're going to charge me 10 grand, and then they're going to give me a Facebook group and a support ticket and call that a day. And that to me is just not worth 10 grand. That's not even close. So what we do is we'll give a client a one-to-one service where they can message us via Facebook. They can get on Zoom calls. We have what we call daily office hours, where they can hop on a call every day and get help with something via Zoom, where we can click on their funnels, etc. So we have in-person events. We have a daily group call on a different topic. So it's just giving them a lot more actual hands-on support versus, hey, here's the material, figure it out. Because most beginners, they just need a little more help than that. That's not good enough. So obviously we have limits as well. Like we'll tell clients like, hey, like we'll help you as needed with Zoom calls. Just like, please don't book one every day. Like we can't do that, because then, I'd have to have 30 million coaches. But we give a very high level service, especially at our level of revenue. And so for me, what really helped was starting to understand, one, who makes the most, and then two, add who makes the most, who gives the best fulfillment. And to me, one-to-one is better. There will be some group coaches who will argue, but really their only argument is it's better for the client if there's more responsibility on them. But I just feel like that's a cop-out to be lazy. I don't really feel like that's actually true. So that would be my advice for someone watching.
Beautiful. And what was your biggest challenge starting in business? How did you overcome it?
I just didn't know what to do. You go on Google and you type something in and people go, yeah, there's information everywhere. Information's not the issue. The issue is execution, right? So I'm the type of person, if you said, Tanner, if you lick my toilet bowl clean, you'll be a billionaire, I would come do it. I really would. Like, I'm that crazy, and like some people are like, I would never do that. I'll do it. So for me, it was just, I needed someone to give me a clear path. And when I hired coaches, it was like pieces, right? Like I never really felt like I got all the nuggets, but I got enough. I was like, okay, I got these 2 nuggets and then these 2 nuggets. And I just started piecing them together to get to where I am today. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Definitely. What unusual or underrated food or drink should more people try out?
Unusual food or drink? I kind of like kombucha. I don't know if it actually helps, but I feel better when I drink it. It may just be placebo, but I kind of dig it. So yeah, kombucha drinks, like whenever I'm feeling hungry or something, I'll throw one down, and it kind of helps with my appetite, and I just feel better when I drink it. I don't know if there's any science behind it, but I like them.
Do you have a particular flavor?
Yeah, they have like a gingerade. Yeah, try that one. I like that one. Yeah.
I like the ginger kombucha as well.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the one.
There you go.
We're into the final question now, Tanner.
Sure.
What makes you happiest?
Oh man, that's a good one. In fact, it's something like, I'll just be transparent. It's actually something I'm struggling with. I feel like I'm actually at the top of this mountain, and I have like all these material possessions and things, and it's kind of asked the question, what's the purpose of life, right? And there's a million directions you can take that. But what I will say is that when I'm helping other people, so like actually like hands-on service, not like online clients, and that I do feel good about that. But when I, like this Christmas, I went and gave gifts away to homeless children. It's like when you see how excited it makes them and how little of an effort it takes you. It took me, I spent $500 on gifts for kids. that feels good. And I think whenever you're feeling down or you're not happy, the best thing you can do is try to serve others. And I'm still trying to figure that journey out myself. I'm pretty open, and honest about that publicly. But um, I wouldn't change anything. I think I'll figure it out just like I did business. And some people will say like, is the money the issue? I wouldn't say that. I think the money's definitely made my life a lot easier, and it's definitely helped me bless people. But money itself is not going to make you happy, and so I'm trying to navigate that.
Nice. I like that. That's a great answer, and I have no doubt you'll find it. You'll journal. You'll meditate on it, and it'll become like the pieces from the coaches. I think that'll come together.
That's the goal, man. I hope so. That's the goal.
And that'll be your next thing. But Tanner, that brings us to the end of the show. At this point, have you got any asks or requests of the audience listening today?
No, absolutely not. Just, if anyone's listening, you have questions or want to know more about my story or just like need help, just feel free to reach out. Part of what I like to do now is simply just help people. I still do have to run a business, but I mean, end of the day, I just want to try to give back. I want to try to help people with the same stuff I struggle with. So yeah, I mean, if anyone needs help, just feel free to reach out. No pressure. Just like no price quote attached to it. Just don't be afraid to reach out because sometimes people, they're scared to reach out to people they view as above them or ahead of them. And I just don't want anyone to feel that way.
Fantastic. What an amazing answer to cap off an amazing interview. Tanner, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today, to share your story, your journey, to piece it together into what became clear as a really, really fluent and authentic sales structure that helps deliver your fulfillment, that genuinely helps people. And as we've said a number of times, with the hundreds and hundreds of hours of client testimonials, you're obviously doing something or many things right. So keep doing that, keep doing you. But yeah, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to be so open with us today on the Smart Destiny podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and I hope anyone listening they found value. So thank you.